Hi YouTube, welcome to one of my videos. This video is called Confused.Con. Now I'm either very confused what I'm doing or being conned in terms of the batteries I've used for my power bank. Now I've got some batteries and they're 3.7 volt at 1.6 amps milliamp hour. Okay, so I've got 4 of these batteries. I'll put them in parallel. So when they're in parallel, the battery voltage remains the same, 3.7 volts, but you add up the current because the current adds up. So it's 6,400 milliamp, which is 6.4 amp, and if you multiply the amps times the voltage, gives you an indication of watts, 23.7 watts. Now then, I've put these 4 batteries into this power bank to do a test, and what I've done, I've tried it with a pure resistive load at 1 amp, and I also tried it with electronic load, and also using my battery monitor which is sitting there. Now on a discharge test for 1 hour to completely flat, the output was roughly 5 volts, 1031 milliamps or 1.03 amps, 5.15 watts. So that's the output of the power bank. Now bearing in mind the total capacity of the batteries is 6.4 amps, within a 1 hour test I'm only getting 1 amp. Okay, so alright, that's at the 5 volt output. So at the batteries at 3.7 volts, the consumption from the battery, I sort of roughly calculated it out at 1.4 amps to give the same wattage. It's all a bit higgledy-piggledy, anyway you can sort of work it out from that. So okay, so the maximum I'm getting out of this power bank is 1 amp for 1 hour at 5 volt. Now I would have thought I got more than that personally. Okay, so from completely flat on the power bank, I thought I'd do a charge test, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. And that's confusing as well, but that's still carrying on at the moment. But I don't understand where I'm going wrong. I assume that this is not designed to give 1 amp for more than 1 hour. That's the conclusion. Or the batteries I've been supplied are not 1.6 amp, they're 600 milliamp. I would expect to get at least 2 amps out of it, you know, 1 amp an hour, so 2 hours, but I can only get it to discharge for an hour. I've got to do more tests, but I'm totally confused. If anybody knows what I'm doing wrong, it might be that this 1.6 amp is based over a 10 hour period, which means it will give 160 milliamp for 10 hours. I don't know. Any help with this would be appreciated. So if this is 1.6 ampere hour, if you've done it over 10 hour rate, that'd be, move the decimal point 1, so that's 160 milliamp hour for 10 hours. Okay, and so at this rate, if it is a 10 hour rate, okay, it should be able to give an output of 640 milliamps over a 10-hour period. So maybe that's what I need to do. Try it at discharge it at 640 milliamps, which I can do by using this programmable load, and see how many hours it runs for. Right, okay, that's the best thing to do. And I'll come back with the charge time. Power bank on charge, completely flat. So I thought I'd do a charge test. And what I'm doing, I'm measuring the current it's drawing from the power supply, how long it's be drawing the current for, and the total milliamp hour registered during the charge process. But I'm very confused with what's happening. Okay, the charge test from completely flat, basically 2 hours it took to charge it. The charging voltage started at 4.9 volts at 960 milliamp or 0.96 of an amp, and as it got to the 2 hour period the current started reducing, but the end result was over a 2 hour period the charge current 1548 milliamp or 1.54 amps. So I would expect it to charge, you know, take about 4, 5, even 6 hours to charge it. So in 2 hours it's still pointing towards the batteries are only 600 milliamp hour, because I would have thought it took a longer charge to go from completely flat according to the indicators to the batteries fully charged in 2 hours. No, that's not right. Okay, so the load is now set up. It's reading 4.86 volts coming out the power bank. The discharge current is 0.64 of an amp, which is 640 milliamp hours, and according to the battery 10-hour rating, and we'll see how long it takes to discharge, fully discharge the power bank. Well, still working with this power bank and batteries and things like that. Just put that out of the way there. I've done a few more tests to do with this power bank and the batteries I got, and another charge test I did, just go through that. It took 1.56 hours to charge for completely flat, and the total milliamp hour current that was recorded on this little testing device was 1.5 amps, 1537 milliamp. Now, for the amount of batteries it's got in it and the current rating of the batteries, I would have thought this took 3, 4, even 6 hours to charge, not just under 2 hours. Okay, the other thing I did, I'd done a couple of discharge tests, again from being fully charged, and what I've done, I assumed that the current rating of the batteries is rated at a 10-hour rating. So what I did, I reduced the discharge current to 325 milliamps, and a couple of hours, well, you know, and it's discharged again. Just after a couple of hours it switches off. It can't seem to give any current output for any length of time without flattening the batteries. Yeah, so I don't really know what's going on. So yeah, 650 milliamp I've tried, and 325 milliamp as constant current discharge, and that is like a 10 and a 20 hour, and within a few hours it dies. So there's no way, based on these figures, that these batteries are 1.6 ampere hours. 600 milliampere hour, yes, I can accept. So I've sent a message to the supplier of the batteries, because I think they're misprinted, you know, or number one's been added to the specification printed on the battery to give the impression that they're higher current than what they are. So I reckon I've been conned on the batteries. There is more confusion on doing all these tests, but I've done a similar test now with an easy ACC power bank. I've got another power bank here and also one there, and they certainly do hold the current for long periods of time. Yes, these power banks are high capacity, but this one is just double what should be this one, and it outperforms its even specification. It can actually give more current than what it's actually supposed to do over a period of time. So I'm pretty sure now I've been conned and I'm not too confused. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like.